Yes, on Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. There's so much in here on SPX that I want to talk about, but I don't want this video to be crazy long. So I'm going to try and just hit some of the highlights of things that I've just been noticing looking at it. Early in the day, we had a pretty quick double bottom in here, kind of a double retest, and then that continued up. You can say that this is another, let me change the color. You can say this is another double bottom like this with a retest that continued up. And then later in the day, we had another double bottom and a retest kind of to close things out. We had a neckline retest, we had a neckline retest. Oops, not quite straight. So there you go, like that. So that kind of bookended the day. So we had this quick breakdown here, pretty quick rally here, and then we, coming back. I'm working towards the middle here, so had a pretty substantial rally as we were going through the day here. Try to get that up to here, and then this was a pretty substantial breakdown to here, almost the same level, a little bit off, but pretty close. You had, this is where things kind of break down a little bit because it's really lopsided. If you look at, how steep this is, how steep, I'm saying the wrong word, how steep this drop is versus the gentler slope of this rally, you can start to notice a couple things. And so one of them that I noticed is you have a lot of bull candles just really, really climbing real quickly. And then things really slow down. So you got bull candles going sideways, 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 up a little, and then like 5 in a row going totally sideways. And when this is happening, when this is totally slowed down and you don't have that push back up again, like watch out for bearishness to come in. And that's what we had happen. Obviously we didn't know it, but that's kind of one of the warning signs. And this was news related in the general market. So nobody knew that this was going to happen or that it would move all this way back down. But this low and this low, extremely close to each other. Even when this was going down, I didn't think it would come down and actually contend with the low down here. Let me turn the cursor back on here because this is actually what I meant to start the video with. So the low here was 35.68.66. You can see on the left there, 35.68.45. 21 cents apart. So we had strength come in here. We had buying come in here. Maybe not strength, but you had some sort of buying come in here. And you had that same buying come in here. I mean, what better place to buy later in the day is the same place you bought earlier, right? So, so that's some of the patterns kind of bookending the day. The other thing I was thinking through is I'm just trying to find some shape or some pattern to this. And I was noticing we have some more of these falling threes. This is kind of falling two, but it's like it's bookended. So here's the bookends. Here's the bookends. And then you got to squint to kind of see it this way. But here's 5 candles, kind of like a rising three, kind of a bookend and a bookend here. And then you really got to squint on this one. But you kind of merge all this together. That's kind of a similar thing. So you had a lot of ignore that those are 2 red candles. We have like 6 candles in the middle of some things that are bookended or maybe extended all the way over here. And these are continuation patterns. So even back over here, it wasn't 3 bear candles in a row, but then this one was. So these are just continuation patterns. It just means that we should keep going in that direction. Well, we already put in a high. We're kind of making a lower high. This is another lower high. Like this should continue. That's your S curve. So these are places to look to get in bearish. If we're not contending to push up again, like, okay, what's going to constitute that lower level, and look for something in here to be that continuation pattern, even if it's just chop. You get the RSI spiking here. You had the RSI way low here, and then we right out of that, and then the RSI here, and we crush lower out of that. So that doesn't always happen, but it's just signals that it's like, okay, something, we're too high here. Even here, we're too high here. This is one where it keeps dipping back down. It's like, okay, the strength can come back in. Strength can come back in. This looked like, okay, it's over. This should roll back down. Nope, it had one more push back in it there. So when we were, one other thing I'll say is I thought we were going to get into this purple line. I really thought we would break down a little bit more, get into that. The purple line has not been lining up. The white lines have not been lining up. They look like a mess on the daily here. These are all supposed to be the same angle on the purple and the same angle on the white, and they're not. So I'll get rid of them at some point when they're irrelevant, but right now we're still, kind of trading between a range here of the purple lines. So I'm going to keep them on there, but I've been trying, they've not lined up with anything. Anyway, I'm going to take a step back out and look at what's going on in some of the options. So the 36.25 call, even when, let me draw again. Well, let me keep the cursor on so you can follow the cursor. Even when this was bottoming down here, this 35.25 call was just going sideways. Even when we pushed back up here, we came back, even this hammer candle, great hammer candle. Like, that was your chance to buy at a hammer candle. You still could have bought here at 2, like wait for it to move up. It should continue out if this is really a double bottom, if it's, if it's going to form that kind of confluence of double bottoms. You could buy there. You could wait till we get back above the 10 and have some bear candles come in with the 10. Even a pullback with this right here to go bullish at that point. Like, the low here was still 210. So, maybe not buying at 2, but buying a little above 2, 250 even. Any of that still would work well. This is just going flat sideways. And then once it starts moving up and looks like, oh, we're taking out, there was some resistance here. We started to take out the open high wave candle and did that, and then retest it back into it, and then continue higher. Like, that's when the premium started to come into the option. And then we did actually get in the money with this option. And it's like, okay, we're way up here. We had a huge rally here. We're probably not going to stay up here. And we did. We stayed up here for all of this. And during all of this, I'm trying to show the cursor. So see where I have this highlighted on the SPX? Look directly below at the 3600 put. So down here, we're going completely flat all through here. And this got to the point that you could be buying an absolute zero put for $1. Put $1. If it's going to break down, great, grab a couple hours, but it didn't just break down. I mean, it had news, it kept pushing lower. This is where it's like, take the target off, just trail the stop with the 10. And you could have gotten in at 1. A lot of, well, not, I was going to say anywhere in here, but no, not quite anywhere. It did. I was in this at 2. So I bought this put at 2 and had a stop at 1. It got stopped out. And then it's like, oh, if I had just waited a little longer for it to make this move. So kind of similar to this, where we went so sideways and then we moved up, came back, and you had about the same opportunity, like 45 minutes later, something like that, too, or maybe half an hour later, to buy about the same price. Like, that's what I should have done here. So it's like, okay, wait for it to have that move, actually, have a value that goes above where I wanted it, so at 2. And yeah, so I was already stopped out here, and then it moved back above 2. It's like, even if I had waited to buy at 2 over here, like, once it's giving me more signals that it's breaking down, but then I would have been looking for, okay, let me get in on that pullback. Well, it got below 1 over here. What if I get in at 1 over here? And if I had waited longer for that, looking for the absolute value or the absolute zero play, I could have been in this with the contract, with entry at 1 instead of entry at 2 and stop at 1. So doing it absolute zero instead. And then I would have, I don't know if I would have been able to react quick enough, because I think I had my target. No, you know what? I had my target at 12. I felt like we were going to have this bigger rollover, so I bought it to, looked for 10R, looked for a target at 12. So that would have put me up here. I was just too early, and too early was also wrong. So I know I'm drawing a lot or pointing a lot at this. So here we go. So I was in earlier at 2, went up a little bit, then came back down. It's like, I'm probably going to get stopped out of this. Sure enough, got stopped out. And then, yeah, could have gotten back in or looked at another option, get back in. But this is one where you have to take the target off or just keep pushing the target out because it's going. So my target was at 12. So if I was in this from 1, I would have looked at 11, just get a 10-hour trade. But even that, I would have been pushing that target out and like, okay, this really has momentum. I'm going to double that. I'm going to double from 11 to 22. That's what I would have done. I've done that in other situations where I've gotten in at 1, target of 9, double it to 18. Or no, double the target. No, wait, double the target, not double that number. So I've gone from 1, gotten in at 1, target of 9, and then double that. So add another 8 to 17 because I've had 16-hour trade like that. So this is one where I would have added 10. So 11 plus 10 is 21 instead of 22. So my target would have been 22, which kind of lines up with the open, lines up with this kind of bookended pattern here. And I would have missed out on this continuation up to, nearly 30 here. So, but you can see these things coming because you just have so much sideways, the candle's resting. You've got the pressure. I mean, this, we've been going down so much. Like it makes sense that it's lower risk at this point to get in bearish here than it is to think we're going to keep pushing higher. I mean, we're running into yesterday's resistance, like all of yesterday's resistance, all of yesterday's selling was up here. We actually ran up into that further than I thought we were going to. And then, this same place that we retested yesterday and stayed below yesterday, we came right back to that price, put in an inverted hammer and reversed, didn't really roll over, but reversed at that same price. So like what we were doing here with you can go back and watch yesterday's video, but this open, these candles, just what was going on here, that was the last anything that was support. And then we just kind of broke down, retested, kept broken down until we're into support further down here. So anyway, that's how I missed a 20-hour trade today by being in early and getting stopped out and not getting back in and taking it back. Not expecting it was going to come down to the same low. So what this is telling me is expect things to move further than you thought they would, which means they're going to move further towards your stop. So get in with better entries, better stops, or an absolute zero with no stop after waiting more time. If I had waited longer, so I think I was looking for the reversal in this area. RSI was not saying that was the time to sell. That was the time to, not sell. We want the RSI to be high. So even just waiting over here for the RSI to be high, that would have been better. Or looking for that level on the option because we're making lower highs through here too, or relative highs. So these are some things that I'm taking away from today. Definitely get some lessons learned from today, and take a deeper dive into what these option charts are doing. So let me go back to, I didn't really dig into the call. Oops. Here's the call. So this is where, looking to buy off of like this hammer, looking to buy at like 2, or, this is one where you could have set it up like buy at 225, stop below this hammer at 125. Like that would have been a great setup. And then target probably at the open or the high of this candle, and you would have scalped something, well, not scalped, you would have got a really nice gain here, see this volume come in, get out if you're not already out, and then look to reload when it's lower, or look for a different option on that pullback, because it's pretty steep compared to the value of this option. So went up to almost 12, no, went up to 12, then pulled back to almost 4. So it got cut by almost 2/3 of its option value. That's the kind of time it's like, okay, this candle's still pretty wide. These are all pretty wide candles. We came back into some of those continuation patterns. Look to get in on another hammer or something like that. Like that's another way to put that. So anyway, this is longer now than I expected it to be, but I hope this helps. This is Justin. Thanks.